The sun was dipping behind the rolling hills of Heartland, painting the ranch in warm golden light. The wind whispered through the fields as if carrying secrets nobody had spoken aloud. Tonight, everything was different. Hearts were beating faster, breaths catching in the quiet, and a moment that had been building for months was about to arrive. Nathan had something on his mind that could change their lives forever, and Amy had no idea what was coming. One glance, one word, one gesture could shift everything they knew about love and courage. The ranch had always been a place of comfort, but tonight it felt electric, with anticipation. Every corner seemed to hold a memory, every shadow a story, and every breeze a hint of the emotions about to unfold. This was more than a simple evening. This was the moment when hearts would speak louder than words, and bravery would meet love head-on. Amy walked slowly along the edge of the pasture, the soft crunch of hay under her boots blending with the distant sound of horses shifting in their stalls. Her mind was swirling with thoughts she hadn't been able to name. She remembered mornings like this when she and Nathan would ride together, laughing as the horses kicked up dust, or evenings when the fire crackled while they talked about dreams and fears. Tonight, though, the ranch felt different. The familiar barns, fences, and trails seemed to hold a quiet expectation, as if the land itself was waiting for something to happen. Nathan, on the other hand, was pacing near the barn, glancing at the ground, then at the horizon. He had rehearsed his words over and over, yet they never sounded quite right when he imagined speaking them aloud. His heart felt heavy with the weight of honesty and hope, every beat echoing louder than the last. As Amy approached, she noticed the subtle tension in the air. Even the horses seemed quieter, almost sensing the charged energy between them. The golden light of the sunset cast long shadows across the field, giving everything a gentle, almost magical glow. Every detail, from the rustling of leaves to the faint smell of hay and leather, seemed amplified tonight. Nathan took a deep breath and looked at Amy, seeing her as he had never seen her before her laugh lines. The way her hair caught the sunlight, the softness in her eyes that hid so many unspoken thoughts. Amy felt a strange mix of calm and nervousness. She didn't yet know what Nathan was about to do, but something in the way he stood there made her pulse quicken. The quiet of the ranch, usually comforting, now felt like a stage set for a story waiting to unfold. Every moment stretched, every glance lingered, and every heartbeat carried the promise that something extraordinary was about to happen. The calm before the storm wasn't just about the evening, it was about the lives that were about to change forever. Tonight would mark a turning point, and Amy, without realizing it, was standing on the edge of a moment she would never forget. Nathan stood by the edge of the barn, his fingers brushing over the wooden beams, as if grounding himself in something familiar. The ranch around him was quiet, but inside, his mind was a storm. Every memory of Amitha way she laughed, the small gestures she made when she thought no one was watching, the moments when their eyes met and nothing needed to be said, flooded his thoughts all at once. He had rehearsed this moment countless times, imagining every word, every pause, every possible reaction. But the closer it got, the more uncertain he felt. Doubt gnawed at him. What if he was too late? What if she didn't feel the same way? What if the courage he had been gathering for months simply wasn't enough? Nathan shook his head and tried to focus on the simple truth he had known all along. His feelings for Amy were real, unwavering, and worth every ounce of fear he carried. He remembered the nights lying awake, wondering if he should confess, wondering if the risk of rejection outweighed the possibility of a life together. Every heartbeat echoed like a drum, a reminder that some decisions could not be put off forever. As he glanced toward the field where Amy walked, he noticed the subtle curve of her smile, the way the sunlight caught the strands of her hair, and he felt the familiar pang of love and longing. His hands clenched and unclenched, a physical manifestation of the emotional battle raging inside him. Nathan knew that bravery wasn't the absence of fear, it was acting despite it. And tonight, he had to act. He drew in a deep breath, letting the cool evening air fill his lungs, trying to steady the tremor in his voice, the shake in his hands, the storm in his chest. Memories of shared moments with Emil, laughing during a horse ride, sharing quiet evenings by the fire, small fights that ended in understanding, fueled his resolve. Nathan realized that holding back any longer would not only deny himself the chance at happiness, but also deny Amy the truth she deserved. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the ranch, as if the world itself was signaling that the moment was now. His heart raced, a wild rhythm that mirrored the wind across the fields. Nathan's inner struggle was not just about fear. It was about hope, vulnerability, and the weight of a love that had grown too strong to ignore. And in that quiet, tense moment, he made a decision. He would speak his heart, no matter the outcome. Because some risks were worth taking, and some truths were meant to be told. The ranch, the golden light, the whispering wind, all seemed to hold their breath, waiting for the courage he was about to summon. The golden light of the late afternoon stretched across the ranch, painting everything in shades of amber and soft orange. Amy walked slowly toward the barn, her thoughts still lingering on the quiet unease she couldn't quite name. She felt a flutter in her chest, a sense that something important was about to happen, though she couldn't place what it might be. Meanwhile, Nathan lingered in the shadows of the barn, his eyes never leaving her figure. He had rehearsed the proposal countless times in his mind, but nothing could have prepared him for the way reality felt the weight of every second. The tremor of anticipation in the air, and the electricity that seemed to hum silently between them. Friends and family were nearby, ostensibly busy with their own chores. But Nathan knew that their presence added an invisible tension, like the hush before a storm. Even the horses, usually restless in the fading light, stood quietly, their ears flicking toward the two figures as if sensing the emotion building in the space between them. Nathan's hand shook slightly as he clutched the small box hidden in his pocket, a tangible reminder of the leap of faith he was about to take. Each step Amy made toward the barn felt slower, more deliberate, her senses heightened by the faint rustle of leaves, the distant call of a bird, and the subtle creak of the wooden fences. Nathan's mind raced. What if she wasn't ready? If his timing was wrong, yet in that same heartbeat, he felt the undeniable truth. If he didn't speak now, the moment might never come. He stepped forward, careful not to startle her, and caught her gaze for a brief second. Their eyes met, and a silent understanding passed between them, fragile and powerful, all at once. Then, just as Nathan took another step closer, the unexpected happened. A sudden clatter in the barn startled both of them. A horse shifted its position, knocking over a bucket, the echo bouncing across the open field. Amy's startled reaction made Nathan's heart skip a beat. And in that split second, the tension between them snapped into sharp focus. It was a reminder that life at Heartland was never predictable, never neat, but always real. Nathan realized that this unpredictable moment mirrored their relationship, filled with surprises, challenges, and moments that demanded courage. He adjusted his grip on the box, took a steadying breath, and reminded himself that the uncertainty outside was nothing compared to the certainty in his heart. The ranch seemed to hold its breath along with them, the world quiet except for the whispering wind and the faint, distant sounds of life carrying on. Nathan knew that the twist of fate, the small interruption, only made this moment more authentic, more raw, more theirs. Every glance, every breath, every heartbeat was leading them toward the point of no return. The moment when vulnerability would meet bravery, and when love would demand that Nathan step forward, despite the fear. The sun had almost disappeared behind the rolling hills, leaving a soft glow that bathed the ranch in warm, fading light. Nathan stepped closer to Amy, each movement deliberate, yet heavy with the weight of everything he had kept inside for months. His heart pounded so loudly, he thought she might hear it, but he hoped she would notice it in his eyes instead. Reached into his pocket and felt the small, familiar box, its edges smooth and solid, grounding him in the reality of this moment. The world around them seemed too quiet, as if Heartland itself paused to witness what was about to happen. Amy's gaze met his, searching, curious, unaware of the courage he had gathered for this instant. Nathan's voice trembled at first, a soft whisper carried on the evening breeze, but it was full of honesty and hope. He told her things he had never dared say aloud. It's about how every day with her had shaped his life. It's about the moments he had taken for granted until he realized they were priceless. and about the love that had grown quietly but relentlessly in his heart. He took a knee without hesitation, the wooden barn steps beneath him grounding him, and opened the box to reveal the small, gleaming ring. The light caught it just right, sparkling like a promise. Waiting to be fulfilled? Amy froze, her hand instinctively covering her mouth, eyes wide with disbelief and emotion. For a moment, the world held its breath, the wind stilled. The distant horses paused in the stalls, even the sun lingered at the horizon, casting long shadows that seemed to wrap them in a cocoon of intimacy. Nathan's eyes never left hers, speaking with every glance the words his lips could barely form. He asked the question that had been echoing in his mind, and heart for months, his voice steady now, filled with a mix of vulnerability and determination. Amy, will you marry me? The words hung in the air, fragile yet immense, carrying the weight of fear, hope, and undeniable love. Amy's chest rose and fell rapidly, her mind racing through memories of laughter, shared tears, and quiet, moments that had built a foundation stronger than either of them realized. She couldn't speak at first, not because she didn't feel it, but because the emotion was too overwhelming, too pure. Time seemed suspended, each heartbeat stretched into eternity as Nathan waited, full of both anxiety and hope. The ranch, bathed in the last golden rays, seemed to celebrate with them, the sky turning soft pink and orange, the gentle wind whispering encouragement. In that suspended moment, Nathan realized that love was not about perfection or timing it. It was about courage, honesty, and the willingness to show your heart, no matter how vulnerable it felt. And Amy, standing there stunned and breathless, understood that in this moment. Everything had changed, and the story of their lives together was about to begin in a way neither could ever forget. Amy stood frozen, the world around her blurring into a soft haze as Nathan's words hung in the air. Her breath caught in her chest, and for a moment she couldn't move, couldn't speak, couldn't even think clearly. Every memory of their life together rushed forward, shared laughter under the morning sun, quiet evenings by the fire, small arguments that ended in understanding, and countless moments she hadn't realized had been building toward this one. Her heart thumped loudly, almost painfully, echoing the raw intensity of the moment. The ring in Nathan's hand glimmered in the fading sunlight, but Amy barely saw it. What she felt was the weight of his courage, the honesty in his eyes, and the undeniable truth of their love. Her hands trembled slightly, instinctively moving to cover her mouth as emotions threatened to spill over. Shock, joy, disbelief, and overwhelming love collided inside her, creating a storm so powerful it left her temporarily speechless. The ranch, usually alive with soft noises, seemed to fall silent. Even the horses paused, their ears twitching, as if the world itself was holding its breath for her answer. Amy's eyes welled with tears she couldn't hold back, tears that spoke louder than any words ever could. Her mind raced, trying to find the right words, but the right words didn't exist. All she could do was feel the depth of Nathan's love, the bravery it took for him to kneel before her, and the certainty that she wanted nothing more than to spend the rest of her life with him. Slowly her gaze lifted, locking onto Nathan's, and in that instant, the flood of emotion turned into clarity. Every fear, every doubt, every hesitation melted away, replaced with a profound certainty. The trembling in her hands softened as she reached for him, her fingers brushing his in a quiet yet electrifying connection. A smile, wide and genuine, broke across her face, part laughter, part relief, part awe reflecting the joy and love she had tried to contain. Her eyes shone, not just with tears, but with the unspoken promise that she would meet his bravery with her own. In that moment, words were no longer necessary. The silence between them spoke volumes, a language of heartbeats. In glances of unspoken understanding and shared history, the sun dipped lower, casting long, warm shadows that seemed to wrap them in their own private world, a world where love was fearless and honesty was absolute. Nathan's nervous smile faltered into relief as he realized that the moment he had feared, the moment he had agonized over, had been met with a reaction more beautiful than he could have imagined. Amy's speechless reaction was not confusion. It was recognition. Recognition of the love they had both felt quietly for so long. Recognition of the risk Nathan had taken. And recognition that at that very instant, their lives had shifted onto a path that neither could ever forget. Every heartbeat, every breath, every flicker of emotion etched itself into the evening air, leaving a memory of courage, vulnerability, and love that would linger long after the sun disappeared behind the hills. The sky above, Heartland had shifted into deep shades of pink and lavender, the last traces of sunlight stretching across the fields like a soft blanket. Nathan and Amy stood there, still holding hands, letting the silence speak for them. The ring glinted softly in the fading light, but it was the connection between them, quiet and unspoken, that filled the space with warmth and meaning. Nathan's nervous tension slowly melted into a serene smile, and Amy's tears of shock had softened into sparkling eyes full of joy. Around them, the ranch seemed to exhale, as if acknowledging the moment that had just unfolded, the love that had finally been declared. For the first time in months, the weight of unspoken words, of longing, of fears held close, lifted completely from their shoulders. Every memory of their shared past, the laughter, the tears, the struggles and triumphs, now felt like a prelude to this turning point. Nathan gently brushed a strand of hair from Amy's face, his fingers lingering on her cheek, as if memorizing the moment forever. Amy laughed softly, a sound filled with relief and delight, the kind of laugh that comes from knowing that life is exactly as it should be. Around them, the ranch continued in its usual rhythm, the distant neigh of a horse, the whispering wind through the fields, the soft rustle of leaves, but it felt different now. Everything ordinary seemed extraordinary, every detail amplified by the emotional gravity of the moment. Friends and family who had quietly watched from a distance began to approach, their smiles and congratulations adding layers of warmth to the evening. Nathan and Amy shared a quiet, private glance, acknowledging that this moment was theirs alone, yet also shared with everyone who had been part of their journey. The barn doors, the fences, and even the horizon seemed to reflect the beginning of something new, a chapter filled with hope, courage, and love that had been tested but never broken. Amy's hand found Nathan's again, squeezing tightly, a silent promise that she would meet him in every step of the life they were about to build together. Nathan's heart swelled, not just with relief, but with gratitude for the trust and love they had found in each other. The sunset faded into twilight, painting the ranch in muted purples and blues. Yet the warmth of their shared moment lingered like a soft glow, illuminating not just the physical space, but the invisible bond that had finally been acknowledged. In this resolution, there was no rush, no pressure, just the serene satisfaction of two hearts aligning, of fear giving way to bravery, and of love becoming real in the quiet majesty of Heartland. The evening air carried a subtle magic, a gentle reminder that the most important moments in life often arrive quietly. After a long buildup of courage, patience, and unspoken devotion, Nathan and Amy, standing side by side, felt the future stretch before them bright, uncertain, but infinitely promising. The sky over Heartland had settled into a deep indigo, sprinkled with the first stars of the night. The ranch, usually alive, with subtle noises of animals and wind, now felt like a world paused in reverence for what had just happened. Nathan and Amy walked slowly toward the barn, hands intertwined, their smiles quiet but full of meaning. Every step they took was measured, yet filled with the energy of a life that had just shifted in a single, courageous moment. Light that had bathed the ranch earlier had faded, leaving only the soft glow of lanterns and the distant shimmer of stars reflecting in the quiet pond. Around them, the familiar surroundings, the fence lines, the paddocks, the barn doors felt like silent witnesses to a love that had finally been spoken aloud. But even in this moment of perfect stillness, the future at Heartland remained uncertain. The wind carried hints of challenges yet to come, decisions to make, paths to navigate, and obstacles that would test the strength of Nathan and Amy's bond. Friends and family had retreated, giving the couple a private moment, yet their presence lingered in the warmth that surrounded them. Nathan glanced at Amy, a spark of excitement and nervousness dancing in his eyes, and she mirrored it with a soft laugh that was both joyful and knowing. The ranch was no longer just a backdrop. It had become a character in their story, holding memories, trials, and promises within its fields and fences. As they paused by the edge of the pasture, looking out over the rolling hills bathed in starlight, a gentle breeze ruffled Amy's hair, and she felt a shiver of anticipation for what was to come. Nathan's hand tightened around hers, a silent promise that whatever challenges awaited, they would face them together.